The midday sun beat down over the small, dusty roadside town of Penrose, where heat waves rippled above the cracked pavement, and the scent of grease, sweat, and burning rubber filled the air near the auto repair shop on 3rd Street. It was one of those towns people drove through, not to. Population under 1,000, half of whom seemed to hang around the same 3 stores and gas station, the kind of place where a Ferrari got stared at and a Ford Mustang got admired. And this Mustang? This one had seen better days. Its hood was popped, open, coughing steam like it was exhaling frustration. The man standing beside it, tall, white, late 40s designer jeans and Ray-Bans, looked as out of place as a Rolex in a pawn shop window. He tapped his phone, scowled, then looked up as if expecting some magical rescue to descend from the sky. No one was coming, except her. A voice piped up behind him, small but clear. "Overheating. Bet the thermostat's stuck." The man turned, expecting to see a mechanic. Instead, he saw a little black girl, maybe 11, maybe 12, wearing dirty overalls, braided hair, grease on her cheek, and a red and blue popsicle dripping in one hand. "Excuse me?" he said, confused. She took another bite of the melting treat. "Your car. The Mustang. It's old school, right? Probably. Hasn't had the thermostat changed since before TikTok was invented." The man frowned slightly, taken aback. "You know about cars?" She rolled her eyes and pointed toward the garage across the street. "My Uncle Ray runs that shop. I help him when school's out. You want help, or you want to keep looking at your phone like it's going to fix the engine?" He blinked, paused, then laughed. A short, surprised laugh. "All right, sure. Why not?" She walked over, setting her popsicle down on a napkin atop the Mustang's front bumper. Her fingers moved confidently, pointing at the housing near the radiator. "You've got some air bubbles trapped too. Bet you didn't burp the cooling system last time." "I didn't know I had to burp anything," he said. "Yeah, well, your car's cranky, like a baby, needs patience." Her fingers were quick. Smart. The kind of smart that doesn't come from books but from time, mistakes, grease under nails, and watching adults do things wrong. In 20 minutes, she had it patched up. Not perfect, but good enough to get to the next city. "Thanks," he said, actually impressed. "What's your name?" "Jada." "Jada," he repeated. "Well, Jada, I'm Aaron. Aaron Callister." She didn't react, didn't seem to recognize the name, which surprised him. Most people knew who he was, or at least knew the Callister Group. Real estate tycoon, multimillionaire, one of the talking heads on CNBC. But this girl just looked up, unimpressed, like she'd rather be back at her popsicle. He followed her gaze. That's when he saw it. Small silver ring on her left hand. It shimmered against her dark skin, simple, unadorned. But it wasn't the ring itself that caught his attention. It was the hand she wore it on. The ring finger. He stared a moment too long, Jada noticed. "It's just a ring," she said flatly, voice dipping. Aaron raised an eyebrow. "That's a pretty specific finger to wear it on." She glanced away, suddenly serious. The light in her eyes dimmed, and the girl who'd just spoken so boldly about cooling systems now looked like she didn't want to talk anymore. Aaron, sensing he'd stepped in something heavy, quickly changed the subject. "Well, I owe you one. Want $100 for your time?" She shook her head. 50. Still no. "Come on, kid. You saved me from getting towed and humiliated." She finally looked at him again. "Buy Uncle Ray some new tools. That's payment enough." Aaron stared at her, then, slowly, nodded. "All right. You drive a hard bargain." Jada nodded, wiped her hands on a towel and went back across the street like it was any other day. But Aaron stood there longer. Something about that girl stuck with him. Not the car, not the fix, the ring, the finger, and the sadness in her eyes. When he noticed it, Aaron couldn't shake it. Even 2 towns over, Mustang humming steady now, air conditioner cooling his collarbone, and the open road stretching wide, her face kept flashing in his head. Not the smile, but the silence. That quiet switch in Jada's eyes when he mentioned the ring, the sudden way her energy dropped, how her shoulders had subtly tightened like an invisible hand had pressed down on her back. It bothered him. She couldn't be more than 11 or 12, yet she wore that ring like it meant something. Something weighty, something private. He didn't like the way it felt. An hour later, Aaron cancelled his hotel in Carson City and turned the Mustang around. Back toward Penrose, he told himself it was because he left his wallet, or maybe because he wanted to drop off a donation at that garage. But in truth, something was gnawing at him. And for once, it wasn't business. When he pulled back into town, it was nearly sundown. The heat had mellowed, replaced by dry wind and long golden shadows. The auto shop's front gate was half closed. A radio crackled low from inside, and a man in his late 50s with oil-stained coveralls sat on a bench, drinking sweet tea from a jar. Aaron stepped out of his car. The man looked up, one brow raised. "Back already?" "Your niece helped me out earlier," Aaron said. "I wanted to say thanks properly." The man stood slowly, set his drink aside. "Yeah, that sounds like Jada. Got a gift, that one. Ain't no manuals, just muscle memory. Car smarts. Learned it all watching me since she was 6. Aaron nodded, then asked carefully, "She around?" The man's face stiffened slightly. "Why?" "I was curious about something. The ring she wears. Before he could finish, the uncle's tone changed. Not angry, just colder. "She wears it because she wants to." Aaron hesitated. "I didn't mean to pry, it's just, most girls her age aren't married, you know." The man stared at him hard. "She ain't married, Mr. Callister. That ring belonged to her mama. Before she passed." Aaron's throat tightened. "I'm sorry. She wears it to remember. But every time someone brings it up, it opens wounds we barely stitched." Aaron didn't know what to say. He didn't expect that. "She's strong," the uncle continued. "Too strong for a child, if you ask me. That's what life does when it kicks your teeth in before you even grow 'em." Aaron nodded slowly. "She's got a good heart." "That she does," the uncle replied. "But you want to help? Don't. Go poking around her pain." Aaron took the hint. He raised his hands gently. "Understood." He turned to leave. But just as he reached the Mustang, he heard a small voice behind him. "She told you about the thermostat." Aaron turned. Jada stood barefoot in the doorway, hair wrapped in a towel like she'd just come out of the shower. Her eyes were guarded. "Yeah," he said. "You saved me." She looked at him, long and curious. Then, "You came back." "I did." "Why?" He hesitated. The truth was messy, even for someone like him, who built skyscrapers on ambition and knocked down rivals with a single phone call. "I don't know," he said honestly. "You reminded me of someone." She stepped closer, looked him up and down. "You don't seem like someone who gets reminded." Aaron smiled faintly. "That's fair." They stood in silence. Then Jada said, softer, "It was my mom's." "The ring?" He nodded. "Your uncle told me. She used to say, if you wear love on your hand, you remember it with every breath." I didn't get it back then. I do now. Aaron felt his chest tighten again. "She sounds like someone special." "She was," Jada whispered. "Then she left. Or the world made her leave. I haven't figured out which yet." He didn't ask for more. Didn't need to. He just reached into his pocket and pulled out a small card. "What's that?" she asked. "My number," he said, "in case you ever want to fix something fancier than an old Mustang. I own a garage in LA, too. Couple of them. We train young mechanics. Could use a bright mind." She took the card, turned it over. "You serious?" "Dead serious." Jada smiled slightly, but it faded fast. "People always say things they don't mean when they're feeling sad for you." "I'm not sad for you," Aaron said quietly. "I'm impressed." She looked down at the ring, turned it with her thumb. Then, very slowly, she said, "Okay, maybe someday." He nodded. "I'll be waiting." 3 weeks passed. Aaron Callister tried to go back to normal, tried to dive into contracts, land deals, and endless conference calls filled with synthetic laughter and bloodless smiles. But every night, when the city lights flickered across his penthouse windows, he saw Jada's face, that little girl with mechanic's hands and eyes too old for her age. He had met 1,000 people in business. He couldn't remember half their names, but her. She wouldn't leave his head. One night he stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. So he got up, poured himself a glass of whiskey. and sat in the den surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows. Somewhere between sips, he found himself pulling out his phone and opening a folder he hadn't touched since Penrose, a photo of the Mustang. In the corner, barely visible, Jada stood near the garage, arms crossed, staring at the car with quiet pride. He zoomed in. Her face, half joy, half armor. The ring caught the light. Aaron shut his eyes. That wasn't a child trying to be fancy. That was someone holding on to the last thread of someone she'd lost. He picked up the phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. "Callister," came the voice on the other end. Rough, blunt. "You calling me at 1 a.m. to confess. Her request?" "I need a background check," Aaron said. "Discreet, deep dive." There was a pause. "Name?" "Jada Owens. Penrose, Nevada. 11 or 12 years old. Lives with her uncle, Ray Owens. I want everything." "Everything?" Aaron took a long sip. "Everything." It took 48 hours. What came back hit harder than he expected. Jada Owens had been in and out of Child Protective Services. Her mother, Simone Owens, had died 2 years ago in a domestic violence incident. The man, her boyfriend, had never been formally charged. The town swept it under. Not enough evidence. Small-town silence. Uncle Ray took Jada in, refused to let the state get involved again, but their income was barely above the poverty line. The auto shop kept them fed. Barely. Aaron sat back in his office chair, hands shaking just a bit. It wasn't just sadness anymore. It was anger. How could a girl like that, sharp, talented, brave, be abandoned by the same country that praised people like him? Millionaires with scandals, men who paid their way out of everything, even responsibility? Aaron had once said money couldn't buy character, but maybe it could buy a chance for someone who had more than most people ever would. That night, he drafted a letter to a legal team, to his board, to a few partners in his garage training program. Then, a week later, he drove back to Penrose, this time in a black Cadillac Escalade. The town looked smaller now, more fragile and somehow more important. He parked outside the auto shop. Jada was there wiping down a socket wrench. She looked up and grinned like she hadn't been waiting for him, but was glad he came. "You again," she said. "You break the Mustang already." He laughed. "Still runs like a dream." She nodded toward the SUV. "That your backup ride?" "No," Aaron said. "That's your ride." Her brow furrowed. "Huh?" "Get your uncle," he said. "We need to talk." Within minutes, Ray Owens stood in the garage, arms folded. He didn't like surprises, and he especially didn't like rich men offering things with strings. Aaron cut to the chase. "I want to sponsor Jada." Ray frowned. "Sponsor? I run a youth mechanics academy in LA. It's got housing, mentorship, full tuition, and a future. She'd be around real teachers, real tech. If she wants to do more than fix busted Mustangs, she'll get the chance." Ray looked at his niece. She wasn't smiling. She was listening hard, quiet, calculating. "She ain't a charity case," Ray said. "I know that," Aaron replied. "She's a damn investment." Jada stepped forward. "If I go, will I still get to wear the ring?" Aaron knelt down so they were eye level. "You wear that ring until the world forgets your mama ever cried. And then you wear it some more." Her eyes glistened, but she didn't blink. "I want to go," she said. Ray looked like he'd been holding his breath for years. He finally exhaled, slow and heavy. "Then go. Make her proud." Aaron held out the keys. Jada didn't take them. Instead, she walked up and hugged him. And that hug told him this wasn't about the car. This was about trust. The move to Los Angeles wasn't instant, but it was fast. Papers were signed, arrangements made, and by the end of the month, Jada Owens was standing at the glass entrance of Callister Motorworks Academy, clutching a small duffel bag in one hand and her mama's ring glittering proudly on her finger. She didn't cry when she said goodbye to Uncle Ray. He cried, though, quietly behind his sunglasses. She had just squeezed his hand and said, "Don't worry. I'll call when I fix my first hybrid engine." The academy was nothing like Penrose. Clean white floors, rows of electric vehicles, chrome-plated walls, voice-activated diagnostics, and instructors who used words like torque vectoring and machine learning diagnostics. The other kids were teenagers, most a few years, older than her, and some looked at her like she didn't belong, she didn't care, not one bit. Aaron came by the first day unannounced, like he did with all his projects, but when Jada saw him walking through the garage in his blazer and polished shoes, she gave him a quick nod and went back to inspecting a stripped-down engine block, like he was just another guy walking through. Later, he found her alone at the workbench. "First day going okay?" She shrugged. "It's loud. A few jerks, but I like the noise." He smiled. "You're gonna do great." She looked up, wiped her hands and said, "You really meant it, huh, back in Penrose?" Every word. She reached into her pocket, pulled out his business card, the same one he'd given her weeks ago, and flicked it toward him. "Don't need that anymore," she said. "You showed up." That hit him harder than she probably intended. She had been abandoned before, by people who promised things and never followed through. He wouldn't be another one. Weeks turned into months, and Jada started shining. Not just because she was gifted with tools, but because she understood the machines. She listened to them. Where other students ran diagnostics, she used her instincts. She could hear when a part was about to go bad. She felt when a system didn't align. Aaron watched from the sidelines as instructors began to whisper about the kid with the ring. At first it was just a nickname. Then it became a symbol. She was always the youngest in the room. The only black girl in most classes and usually the smallest, but she didn't flinch, didn't back down. She didn't talk much either, unless it was about engines. And then came the day she outperformed every student in the mid-year rebuild competition. They gave her a trophy. She gave it to the front office receptionist and said, "It'll just get dusty in my room," Aaron asked her afterward. "Why not keep it?" She looked him dead in the eye. "Because I'm not finished yet." That night, Aaron found himself looking at the ring again. Still there. Still shining. The band was duller now, the silver worn with time and soap and sweat, but she never took it off. And one evening, well past dark, Aaron walked into the garage and found her working alone. Everyone else had gone home. She had a busted turbo laid out in pieces. "You're supposed to clock out at 6, he said gently. She didn't look up. "Yeah, well, machines don't follow schedules." He laughed softly and leaned on the counter. "Do you miss home?" She paused, then nodded. "Every day," she whispered. "But I don't miss being stuck." That landed like a brick in his chest. Jada wasn't just fixing machines. She was fixing her future. And whether he meant to or not, Aaron had given her the first real tool to do it. But the past doesn't let go easy. Not in a country like this. Not for a girl like her. Especially when a quiet investigator called Aaron one night with a low, urgent voice. "There's a man sniffing around, big guy, name's Dwayne Miller. Claims he used to be with Simone Owens, says he's got rights." Aaron stood up, his pulse thudding. "What kind of rights?" "He's claiming he's Jada's biological father." Silence. Then, from Aaron, "She's not going anywhere." The next morning, Aaron didn't go to the office. He didn't check stocks or answer emails. He drove straight to the academy, heart heavy, mind racing. As he walked into the garage, he saw Jada standing near a raised chassis, holding a tablet, headphones in, nodding to music while she reviewed the wiring system. She looked peaceful. He hated what he was about to disturb. "Jada," he said softly. She turned, pulling one earbud out. "Hey, we need to talk." The way he said it, she knew. She didn't ask questions, just followed him quietly to his office upstairs, above the garage. The door shut behind them with a soft click. Aaron turned, to face her, hands folded tight. "There's a man," he began, "who's claiming he's your biological father." She didn't react at first, not even a blink. Then she asked one question. "Dwayne?" Aaron nodded, her lips pressed into a line. Then she sat down slowly, like the weight of her world suddenly sank back on her shoulders. "He wasn't a father. He was a shadow." Aaron's voice was low. "He says he wants custody." Jada's head snapped up. "No," she said firmly. "He can't. He's filing paperwork in Nevada. Might try to drag this through court." "He didn't even show up to my mom's funeral," Jada whispered. "He hit her, Mr. Callister. He broke things. He broke her." Aaron's jaw clenched. "I know," he said. My investigator found sealed records. Police were called more than once. There's a history, but some of it's buried. And the law, well, it's a mess when it wants to be. Jada leaned forward, voice steady but trembling underneath. I won't go back to that. You won't, Aaron said. Not while I breathe. Her eyes welled up, but she didn't cry. She didn't want pity. Aaron stepped around the desk and knelt beside her chair. I want to offer you something, he said. What? He took a slow breath. Adoption. She blinked. What? Not because I pity you. Not because you need rescuing. But because you're already part of my life, Jada. You already are family, but if I adopt you legally, it'll protect you. It'll give us standing in court. He won't be able to touch you. She stared at him, mouth slightly open, her breathing shallow. I don't want to take your uncle's place, Aaron added quickly. This isn't about replacing anyone. This is about giving you what you deserve. A future, a shield, a name that shuts doors in men like Dwayne's face. Jada didn't speak, just sat there frozen. Aaron was about to backpedal when she finally whispered, Can I still keep the ring? He smiled gently. That ring is your mama's. That's forever yours. Then she whispered again, this time even softer. Okay. And for the first time since he met her, Aaron saw the walls drop. Not all the way, but enough. She nodded, and then she did cry. Not loud. Just slow tears sliding down her face as she folded into his chest and held on like she hadn't held anyone in years. For the next 2 weeks, it was lawyers and paperwork and emergency filings. Uncle Ray came to LA for the hearing, suited up, and standing proud as he told the judge, She's already got 2 fathers now, one by blood, one by choice, and I'll tell you which one earned her love. Aaron stood beside him, hand firm on Jada's shoulder. The court ruled in their favor. Dwayne never even showed up. Maybe he knew. Maybe some men are just born to ruin things and vanish before they can fix them. That night, Aaron and Jada walked back into the garage after dinner, just the 2 of them. The lights were off, except for one hanging bulb swinging above a new frame. Waiting to be assembled, Jada ran her hand over the metal. This one's mine, right? He grinned. It's yours. She picked up a wrench and said, Let's build something that lasts. Aaron stood beside her, watching her small hands hold that tool like it was a sword, the silver ring on her finger glinting against steel. And for the first time in a long, long while, she didn't feel like she was fixing broken things anymore. She was creating. Spring came early to Los Angeles that year. The academy was alive with projects, the garage buzzing louder than ever. Jada had her own corner now, not assigned, earned. Her toolbox had her name engraved in steel. She didn't just fix cars anymore. She taught, she tuned, she rewired machines that baffled adults twice her age. She belonged. Aaron watched it all quietly. Since the adoption was finalized, people treated him differently. Board members whispered, journalists speculated. A black girl? Out of nowhere? What's the angle? There was no angle. That's what made them uncomfortable. He hadn't saved her. She had changed him. One night, months after the court ruling, he stood outside the garage, leaning against a post, sipping coffee as Jada worked on a vintage '68 Charger that someone had donated. She was alone again, by choice. The world was quiet. Just her and the hum of metal and memory. You ever think about going back? He asked from the doorway. She didn't stop turning the ratchet. Where? Penrose? Yeah. Sometimes, she said. I miss Ray. Miss the quiet. But that place... She paused. That place didn't want me to grow, it just wanted me to survive. He nodded. He understood that more than she could know. She looked at him, then pointed with her chin toward a stool. Sit. He sat. She wiped her hands and walked over. To the small fridge in the corner, pulled out 2 bottled sodas and handed him one. I rebuilt the Charger's transmission, she said. All by myself, I figured, Aaron said, smiling. You didn't even let the instructors help. They slow me down? They both laughed. Jada sat on the floor, legs stretched out, sipping her soda. You know, I still wear the ring because I want her to see. Aaron tilted his head. Your mum? She nodded. Every time I turn a bolt or fire an engine, Or outsmart some cocky dude with twice my ego. I imagine she's watching. She'd be proud, Aaron said. Jada looked down at her hand. The ring looked different now. Not a piece of grief, but a crown. Some people wear gold chains to feel strong, she said. I wear her pain like armor. They were silent for a while. Then she said something so small and so real it choked him up without warning. I didn't think people like you were real. Aaron raised a brow. Like me? Yeah. Rich men don't usually stop for girls like me. We're just noise to them. He looked at her, not blinking. You were never noise, Jada. You were the engine. She smiled at that. Later that night, they turned on the Charger's ignition together. It coughed, choked, then roared to life. She whooped, arms in the air. Yes, Aaron laughed genuinely. It was the kind of laugh that came from deep inside, the kind he hadn't felt in years. That weekend, he hosted a fundraiser for the Academy. Celebrities showed up. Tech moguls, reporters, and at the center of it all, Jada, in a black leather jumpsuit and grease-stained sneakers, standing next to her Charger, arms crossed. A reporter approached, notebook in hand. And you are? She didn't flinch. Jada. Callister. Callister? The reporter blinked. Relation to Aaron Callister? She nodded. He's my dad. The words came so easy. So natural. Aaron was watching from the balcony, drink in hand. She caught his eye. Winked, and he knew. This wasn't just a project or a rescue or a good deed to soothe a rich man's guilt. This was a girl who found her. Rode. A girl who took tragedy, put it on her finger, and used it to build her empire, one bolt at a time. And just like that, the little black girl who once fixed a broken Mustang on a dusty roadside, now fixed futures, including his.